folks, and welcome to another Saturday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
And I'm Mikey.
Hey, this is another one that when I thought about it, I said, this is a Mikey topic.
And I said, when I heard it, thank you, Matt, for inviting me back.
Of course.
Actually, I guess what I should say is, thank you for allowing me to revisit this old place that I had been before.
Oh, yeah. We are nostalgic. We love our old days, our old places, your old haunts, so to speak. Used to hang out. And I had a top 5. I was like, you know what? I wish I could see it one more time. Like walk in the store, smell the smells, see the sights, buy the wares, whatnot. And the thing is, how much crossover will we have?
0.
I'm going to say, well, you said 0. You're correct. I'll say 1, but I'm very positive it's 0. Because there's
0.
So many different things that we want. Sorry, quick break there. We tried to get the missus to jump in on this, but she didn't want to.
She said she had to go watch some Cinemax.
Some Hallmark.
Oh, wait, she said Hallmark. Sorry, she did not say Cinemax.
Yeah, she said Hallmark.
My mistake.
Anyway. So, there's a few places I'd like to revisit. And I'll go first again.
You should go first.
I'll go first.
Please.
Because one is a hometown. Some of these are regional, but one is local. And I want to watch a movie in Eastgate Cinema.
Oh, man, I do too.
I did. One more time.
Just one more time.
The $2 large popcorn.
Yep.
It was 50-cent Tuesdays, $1 anytime else.
Can you imagine going to see a movie these days for $1?
And
50
folks,
cents?
These were the movies that were about to come out on video. Like in 1 month, they'd be out on video. So if you want to catch it one final time, because they had movies that had been out months earlier. And so if you waited, or if you wanted to watch a movie again, you could watch it for $1. But their concessions were cheap too. Mm-hmm. And it was on a, small little screen, not a big screen, but it was, it wasn't the nicest.
It was the theater experience.
But you got a budget theater, 50-cent Tuesdays. Can you believe that? And I would rack up, I'd get I think it was $5 for a large. But still, it was a large tub of popcorn. I got popcorn. I got a Coke. I bought everything. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm paying the same as I would for one ticket and getting all this great stuff. And I was like, and I loved Eastgate Cinema.
Do you remember the last movie you saw at Eastgate Cinema?
That's a tough one.
Which one closed the curtain?
I don't recall, but I know I saw Nothing to Lose. There with Martin Short and
Dan Aykroyd.
No, it wasn't Dan Aykroyd. It was the
Nothing to Lose. You're talking Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence. Sorry,
I'm thinking Nothing But Trouble.
Sorry.
So that was probably like 98, 99.
Yeah, but there may have been another one. I can't remember. When did Die Hard with a Vengeance come out?
95.
Okay, I saw it there. Okay, all the R-rated ones I saw over there because they didn't card as the mall did. Mm-hmm. We were very loosey-goosey back then. So it was one of those. I mean, if you could show me movies in the last year Eastgate was out, I could probably pinpoint it for you. Right. But I saw a lot of movies. If I wanted to see Jurassic Park again, I'd wait till the $1 cinema.
Yeah.
And other movies, that I missed because I was too busy that summer, or I just wanted to see again, or it's like, I don't want to see it full price, but I'll see it for $1.
Right.
But Eastgate Cinema was just so much fun. And it wasn't dirty. It was,
It was a movie theater.
Maybe needed a coat of paint and a few more lights. But other than that, it wasn't seedy or anything like, you didn't say, ooh, these seats. I never said that, But it was fun. It was just a great time. And we'll never have that again. Cinema 3, I think, was worse. When we had Cinema 3, I went to Cinema 3 once or twice. It looked fantastic. You could tell it was the big theater back in the day. Because it looked grandiose and just had fallen on hard times.
Right.
Like it could have been beautiful if restored.
Right.
But it was just bad. The seats were awful. I can't remember. I saw 1 or 2 movies there and said, I'm not coming back. But Eastgate, all day, every day, baby. All day, every day.
I'd
Morning,
buy that
noon, and
for
night.
$1.
And we did. All right, so number 5.
So you said local stuff. I'm kind of the same way. I've got
You can pick local.
I've got 3 local things.
I got local, regional, maybe one nationwide.
Yeah, I've definitely got one nationwide, and the other was probably nationwide. But my number 5 is a local little juke joint, little restaurant, if you will, in Bastrop, called Pippin's Eat a Bite. Now, that restaurant is still here.
Yes.
But it's owned by different people, and it's called PT's.
Eat a Bite.
Eat a Bite. But the original Pippin's was phenomenal. In high school, we used to go there and get their beef tips and gravy, some of the best beef tips and rice you'd ever have.
When did they switch?
Maybe like late 90s, early 2000s. Because it was Pippin's when we were in high school.
Late 2000s.
It was definitely PT's in late
Megan
2000s.
and I went, and Megan loved Eat a Bite.
Yeah.
It was right there by the theater.
Yeah, it's right by Rose. Yeah.
When we were doing Jekyll and Hyde together,
Yep.
We'd all the whole cast. I mean,
Hal
we ate all the
time, yeah.
would go to Eat a Bite. Yeah.
It was dirty. It was just small town, rural,
It is
like
very
little place.
small town, country
But
town.
one of those places that I guess either just had
Because it
like,
says eat-a-bite.
Right. You know, something that you would have seen probably in like the 50s. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, the old school diner.
Right. Yeah.
That had just never
Right, it had a
gotten
diner
renovated.
look. Yeah, and so they probably had the same type of grill and stuff, which is probably why the food tasted so good. Maybe they just had like people back there that knew what they were doing. Yeah, whatever. But it worked, and it was delicious. And that would be my number 5.
That's good. Good. Lots of good memories. That's what the whole thing's about. All right, so number 4 for me is going to be the nationwide one, the mall store, Walden Books. Walden Book, and I have to have the same employees that work there.
Yes, it's a must.
It has to be the same ones. Casey, who had everyone call herself Lucky, she went by Lucky. The Oracle, what was his name? I believe his name was Tom, but I called him the Oracle because he knew where every book was anywhere in the store. Even if it was hidden, like they had a bunch of miscellaneous books, he knew exactly where that book was. Amazing. And then there was Jamie, who was the manager who ran it. There was Miss Linda, I think, older lady, dark hair, who was so sweet to me. And then her friend, who I want to say was Thelma. I don't remember. It was some older name, Harriet or something like that, some old name. And she had white hair. But the 2 old ladies, Lucky was the young punk girl with bright red orange hair that she had dyed, tattoos everywhere, big braces. And Tom, if I remember, that was his name, Tom or Don at the Oracle, but he was kind of the chubby, balding guy. And they were all so great. Customer service, Jamie was always super nice. You went and bought, but this is before the internet, before Amazon. Amazon was probably around, but you bought your books at Walden Book. I did. When Books A Million opened up, no thank you. I stay true to Walden Books. Unfortunately, everyone went to Books A Million. But Walden Books was my jam. Just walking in, and then you'd get like coming soon movies. They had books coming soon. And what week these books were releasing. Of course, I read the Star Wars books, so I could see what week they were coming out. I'd get excited. I'd pre-order immediately. They'd have my book waiting for me behind the counter. One time, all the pages fell out of my book, and I was so upset, and I brought it to them and said, I did not do this. And they said, okay, someone didn't glue it right, and that's fine. You can get a new one. I was so upset because I thought they're not going to believe me because all the pages were just falling out, and I was freaking out. But they said, oh, no problem. It probably was misglued. We'll just send it back. I said, you can give me a new one? Oh, my gosh. I was like, I'm not going to get, I'm not going to get this book replaced, or I'm going to have to buy another one. But their service was above and beyond. If you came in enough, they knew your name, like Cheers. Everybody knew your name. And to walk in there, smell the smell of books. I love the musty smell. Even if they're brand new, you smell those pages. And to see the same people. I mean, honestly, I would cry. I would be so happy to see every single person there. If I could go back in time, how did Marty McFly not, hug his mom and never let go or something like that? Because I mean, to see that site. That Walden Books was B. Dalton was around back then. Screw B. Dalton. They weren't my friends. Walden Book was my friend. So I love it. That's my number 4.
I know how much you love Walden Books. It is near and dear to you. And the fact that that's number 4 on your list is really intriguing.
Yeah.
My number 4, I guess this is a national chain, but I don't really know because at the time I was, 10, 11, 12, 13. But my number 4 would have been in the Pecanland Mall, and it would have been the Tilt. The arcade.
Oh, the old school arcade.
Yeah. Now, obviously they have a bigger arcade now called the Tilt. So I don't know if this is like a chain or.
That's not. I mean, it is the Tilt, but that's not the old school.
Yeah,
Tilt.
I think they were two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because this was, a very specific like hole in the wall right by Chick-fil-A. So every time you went there,
row to row arcades.
Yeah, just row to row. And this was like 1991, 92, 93. So it wasn't any like punch a bunch or grab some things. It was legit arcade games. You had Golden Axe next to Street Fighter, next to Mortal Kombat, next to Lethal Enforcers, next to Simpsons, next to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
A bunch of race car games.
Racing game, So like, and so when you went on school field trips or whatever, like, that's you got, when your parents gave you some money, you got, just ate a little bit of candy or like, $1 thing of fries, and you used the rest of your money in the Tilt.
Hanging at the arcade is one of the things you did with all your friends.
Yep.
You played some games, you sat there and talked, you watched other people play games, and then you talked, but you always had something to drink.
Yep.
At least something to drink, something to eat maybe.
Yeah.
But you just went in there because it was just so big. Or you'd look at different games. Oh, they got a new arcade. And there'd be a line.
Right.
People getting next, calling next.
And it was
with their
back
quarters.
in the day whenever arcade games meant something. Obviously, that's an easy, that's low-hanging fruit because we all know what arcades meant to like the 70s and the 80s and the 80s and the 90s. But just the quality of the games. Because back then, even if you had like a Super Nintendo or a Genesis, then they weren't arcade quality. Playing Mortal Kombat on like the arcade. Nowadays you play Mortal Kombat like 1 at home. It'd be the same as going to the arcade, one of these fancy arcades, and playing it. But back then,
the arcade always looked better.
Yeah, I mean, looked better. They were better. So there was a difference there, and so you got really, really fascinated and blown away.
This was premium video game playing.
The graphics and the fun, and so if I could like grab like a roll of quarters and walk back in there with Rusty and just my friends back then, and it would be great.
Oh yeah. And by the way, folks, I got to meet this Rusty.
Oh yes,
Capital man.
Yeah, Capital. Yes.
He's fantastic.
Can I real quick give you a message that he sent today?
Oh, please go ahead.
Yes. Now this is just a random message. This doesn't have anything to do with Matt or this, that, and the other, but just to show you what type of capital person he is. He lives in Austin, Texas, and he sends a message that says at 5:41 after he gets off of work, he sends a message that says, "Did a shot of Jaeger at the bar today." Okay. And then our friend Stepdaddy, friend of the program, John Stepdaddy, says, "Happy Thursday." Then Rusty says, had at 6:17, mind you, p.m. He says, had 8 Budweisers at the bar after work, a shot of whiskey, and a shot of Jaeger. So that's what type of capital man we're dealing with here.
Capital.
Just Thursday after work, happy hour, 8 buds and a couple of shots in.
Go for it.
Wake up
no
tomorrow.
wonder I got odd pant pictures from him today.
Yes. You got the real life Cinemax.
Yeah, he is a great guy. My number 3. Now, this is regional. Even though the company's still around, it's not the same company now. Showbiz Pizza, which bought Chuck E. Cheese and now is living through Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay.
The Chuck E. Cheese, if you have a Chuck E. Cheese, folks, in your area, and if you're like 20 years old or 20-something, that is not the Chuck E. Cheese that we grew up on.
Correct.
As kids. Back in the day, Showbiz Pizza was just kind of like Chuck E. Cheese, but they had several animatronics, different rooms with different animatronics. The one with the Beach Boys, but they were dogs. One with Elvis, but he was a lion because he's the king. Mm-hmm. One with a hippo who was Aretha Franklin playing a piano, I think. Every place had a little side room, and then the main stage had Chuck E. Cheese and the whole band. Or no, this would be Showbiz, Billy Bob, and all the band members. But the old days where everyone had different animatronics. And yes, they were wooden movements in a way, but you were entranced. And it was literally pizza and a show. You were watching this hour-long show that, it didn't repeat forever. It made sure that it gave you enough time for you to wait for your pizza, eat your pizza, and then you'd go play before the show reset again. But everything was so magical. The lights would go down, the spotlights on the characters, and they'd move around and talk. And you're here eating pizza going, this is great. I'm getting dinner in a show. Now, on top of that, you just scarfed down one piece, because as long as you showed mom you ate one piece, then you could go play. This is back in the day when they had the ball pit. There was nothing better in my life than being chin deep in balls.
Yes.
Yes. Did you ever jump in a true ball pit back in the day?
At McDonald's in Bastrop.
Okay.
Yes.
Best thing in the world.
Yes.
Best feeling in the world.
Yes.
You felt free.
I did.
The balls were cool around you.
Yes.
You just felt that wow, I'm up to my neck in balls.
Yes. Whenever I would put my face, it's just all in the balls and rub it around. Yeah. It was magical.
It was. Blue balls.
They had blue balls.
Red balls, yellow balls, green balls.
Yes.
Balls of all colors.
Yes.
All sorts of colored balls. You'd throw them at people. You'd crush a few. I hated the ones that were crushed. Some kid crushed them. And these were tougher balls than the plastic balls you see now. They're weak balls now. But
you got to have strong balls.
You got to have some strong balls in that ball pit. But the ball pit, you do jumps, twists, flips. You thought you were so cool just diving, swimming in. You were going, help, help. And you didn't need help. But you were just having the best. You were having a ball, so to speak.
Yes, you were. A touche.
Yeah, but to live that as a kid, and skee ball was at its best.
Oh God, I love
that.
Skee
Was
ball.
my game. That was my jam. But just to sit down for a Billy Bob and his friend, the Rock-afire Explosion, and to watch them work their magic, and just to relive that with a slice of pizza, would just be magical. Would just be magical. If I was Quantum Leap and jumped into some other kid's body and didn't know anyone else there, I'd still enjoy that.
Yeah, you would.
Anyway. All right.
Showbiz
What's
feature.
better than jumping into balls face first?
Well, my number 3 is something that you know well. We've talked about it on this show before. I don't really need to spend much time on it. But
Wieners.
But it was my place to go in the same Pecanland Mall, which it would be the Electronics Boutique.
Oh, yes.
I love the Electronics Boutique. That's, being a big video game fan, that's where I would see all the video games.
On the walls.
That's
also
magazines.
That's also where you grab the magazine to find that cheat code and put it back down.
Yeah,
so you don't have to buy it.
Yeah, write
or
it in my
where's that
notebook.
Secret? Where's that level? Oh, there it is.
I can't say that it was like the best store or the cheapest store or anything like that. It's just the one that I remember the most, and I liked it.
You connected to it because you played video games. You loved these video games, and here they were.
Yeah.
The one, and I remember you sit there on the wall. Okay, I want that one, that one, that one, that one. Okay, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You count the ones you wanted. I believe they also had a coming soon release schedule
They may have. I don't remember.
behind the counter too.
Yeah.
What was coming, the new Mega Man or whatever's coming out this date.
Right.
Yeah. Not as big because it didn't last as long. That wasn't one of the stores I always went in, and it closed early.
Well, they went over to Babbage's and then GameStop.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
They're all like a part of that same lineage.
So they kind of moved around. Babbage's, I do remember. But Electronics Boutique, that's 80s.
It was early 90s. So it may
they
have
were
been
still
there
around
in the 80s. But
they were still around early 90s. You're correct. Yeah. Good pick. My number 2 is another one that's regional, though. It was here, I heard, in like Winsboro or Farmerville or someplace like that. It is TG&Y. TG&Y is like your Family Dollar General store, possibly a little bit bigger. It had its own clothes set, like an old school Fred's.
Yes.
Fred's Pharmacy, if you remember Fred's.
Oh, yeah.
It was like that. It had its own clothing department. It had a couple of one aisle or 2 aisles of toys, cooking, a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. But a bigger store than a Dollar General would be. Mm-hmm. And, decent prices. You found them out in small cities and stuff like that, country cities. And where I grew up, Forest, Mississippi, we had one. Mom shopped there all the time. You could get food there too, a little bit of canned goods and stuff. So she'd get you could just almost get everything. Yeah, you'd have to go to the grocery store if you wanted fresh veggies or whatnot. But if you canned things, packaged, noodles or whatnot, you just go there. And of course, I would give anything. I keep going on YouTube to see if anyone has old school footage of walking. Because, there are some of these videos people had, because everyone had a camera back in the mid to late 80s and early 90s, and they'd just walk places and just film everything. Someone has walked into a DGNY before, surely. And I'd love to see that video. Mm-hmm. Because I want to be that kid, an adult, walking in and just looking at everything. Is it going to be the same? Yeah, it's going to be old, dated 80s stuff. But the thing is, though, that was I knew exactly where the toy aisle was. You would just hang out in the toy aisle looking at each and every section, because every section you loved, whether it's Turtles, Joe, Thundercats, He-Man, there was the cornucopia of toys. The golden age of toys, action figures, is the 80s, right? And you looked at and wanted everything, And I remember just looking over everything. And we had a Fred's Pharmacy, too, we always used to go into and shop there, too. We got our little muscle men there. Mm-hmm. But TGNY was always the big store for me. And to go back in there again, not only do I have one T-shirt that says TGNY, I now bought a second one.
Nice. We need to find some footage then.
I know, but there's a TGNY museum in Oklahoma. I think the last one was around in 2000, 2001. The stores had closed in the early 90s, but someone had a former employee had bought the rights to it, tried to open up his own in Oklahoma, and it fell apart in 1 year, just because life had moved on. If I was rich, yes, I would open one up. I'm that nostalgic.
What does TGNY stand for?
I think back in the day, Turtles, Girdles, and Yo-Yos. I think it was the founders' names, but Turtles, Girdles, and Yo-Yos is what my mom and a bunch of other people just saying, hey, we got everything.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of everything. Anything you need for a good price, And they're just little country pop-up stores that just popped up, and that's where your life was as a kid, or as for me it was. But I remember wearing my TGNY shirt here, walking into Thurman's and someone going, whoa, I haven't seen one of those since they were in, I don't know, some small town around here had one. Mm-hmm. And it closed way before I came here. But and I remember it turned into a big time store. Someone bought the real estate and just changed it to big time.
Not the same.
Wasn't the same as TGNY. All right,
small time.
Small time is what it was, yeah. So number 2 for you.
My number 2 was local to Bastrop. There was only one, so I don't imagine anybody listening to this would know it unless you grew up in Bastrop in the 90s. But it was a place called the Tiger's Den. Now, what the Tiger's Den was a comic book shop.
I know the Tiger's Den. I went there.
Yes, it was right on the loop, right
that
by
was
Carter
a great
Park.
that was for the baseball cards.
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of baseball cards, a lot of comic books. But whenever I was probably 14, that would have been like 1993. So it was right by the baseball park, and it was close enough to where I could ride my bike up there.
Yep.
So I used to ride my
Great
bike up
spot.
there. It was right. Yeah, it was a good spot to go to. Now there was a guy that owned it when it started. He started it, and I can't for the life of me think of his name right now, but he sold it to a guy named Ryan Kelly, who was a guy that just grew up in Bastrop, a couple years older than me. So he bought like all the inventory and he bought the store. That's whenever I started going up there. Now, at that time, I liked baseball cards because baseball cards were a thing.
Everyone did.
I liked comic books. Comic books were a thing. Like, you got your Death of Superman and the black bag from there, stuff like that. But then that's where I found Magic, and I started playing Magic: The Gathering, started playing Marvel's Overpower, started playing the Star Wars game that came out a couple years ago. So I started playing those TCGs back then. No, I don't really have any of my Magic cards back then. I wish I did because those were, right when it started. But It was just this little, local hole
Yeah.
in the wall comic book store that, the guy was only a couple years older than us. He loved wrestling. He loved Star Wars. He was just like the same as us, just a couple years older. And so, but you could go in there and hang out. Like it wasn't just like go in there and like shop, although some people did, but we would go in there and hang out, and we would chit chat and talk, and your friends would come up there and ride your bikes, and you would go up there and look at some comic books. He would let you get the comic book out and like read it, and then you could read it and just put it back, and then go ride the loop or go home and eat dinner and come back. And so not only was it a shop, but it was a place to kind of hang out. And so actually I guess it went under years ago. But Ryan Kelly, opened up another store that's open now in Bastrop called Card Shop Reality. I don't know if he has all of that inventory. I don't think so.
Same guy.
Same guy.
In Bastrop.
Yep. It's right where the Pizza Hut used to be. Not in that building, but right next to it where the old Sonic used to be.
Wow.
And they do a lot of TCGs, CCGs, so they do a lot of Magic.
You have to now.
Lorcana and stuff like that. So I don't think he has as many baseball cards, obviously.
Well, that's what's hot now. Yeah. That's what the hobby is.
But so it's still around. But man, that place, if I could go back then, you go get a snow cone. There was a place, it was right there on the Loop, what they call the Loop in Bastrop, where everybody would ride it. And they had a snow cone stand up there. And it was garbage, right? And they had another snow cone stand in the parking lot of Walmart, which was just a couple of blocks away. And so we used to have this chant every time when we would go outside, and we would say, the place on the Loop tastes like poop. Be smart, go to Walmart. And we used to chant that when people were in the line at the snow cone stand at the Loop. The place on the Loop tastes like poop. Be smart, go to Walmart. Yeah. So
wow.
I miss those days.
Wow. Tiger's Den is where I bought my 92 Fleer Update. He ordered 2 from me because my favorite player, Mike Piazza, it was his rookie card, and I wanted 2. One to open and put in my set, one to keep. When they finally came in, it turned out they got short printed, and they were worth hundreds of dollars. And he looked at me, he said, do you know how much these are now? I said, yes, I do. He went, okay, because I got to sell them to you for retail, but they're $30 each, but they cost $200 now each. And I was like, I know. But I was the only one that ordered them.
Now, was that Ryan or was that like the original guy?
I don't know, 92.
Probably Charles Porter. That was the guy.
Okay, it was Charles Porter.
Because he opened up Porterhouse Liquor. That just came to me. Yeah, okay. Charles Porter.
But he told me, he said, you know how much these are worth now? And I went, yes, I do.
It's cool of him to still sell them to you.
But a deal's a deal. But yeah, because he pre-ordered them. And he wanted to know if I wanted to sell one to him. I was like, nope. Because
Do you still have them?
I have them both unopened because I never opened them after that.
Wow. I wonder how much they were now.
Rookie. I don't know. I don't know how much Mike Piazza's rookie is. I mean, you look
Would you say it's a Fleer Ultra?
A PSA graded one.
Well, if they're not open, they would definitely be probably a 9.5 or a 10.
You're looking at 300, 3-something, 350.
Okay.
No, 300. Somewhere around that.
I mean, it's not thousands.
If it's a high grade one.
But it's 10 times your investment, so you never go broke that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 10 times the investment.
Well, those things have gotten big again. Like sports cards have gotten because of 2020, because of COVID, they got huge again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big one. Anyway, though, funny you should mention that. My number one also happens to be my favorite comic and card shop, which is Cardco. Wayne Harris now runs the local comic book store here in town. He didn't run it. He worked at Cardco. He's always been the comic guy in town. He used to run Alley Cat comic books back in the day. And
are you talking about Infinity Comics?
Infinity Comics. That's where he does now.
Okay.
And so it's still same old Wayne.
Yeah.
I think he's got maybe 5-10 years on me. He was a teenager, an older teenager back then when I was a young teenager. Mm-hmm. And I had the best time at that store, buying my comic books, that's where I bought my comic books, my baseball cards, and everything, and they'd always work a deal out and everything. Of course, there's the place I worked at, Cards, Coins, and Collectibles with Wes. I'd love to see that place too. But card and comic book shops, and when I think back on it, I can't remember all the names, but Dad used to take us whenever we'd travel. We'd spend a day going to all the card and comic book shops around town. Both of my grandmothers, there's places I'd love to see there. When we went down to Pensacola for our vacation, one day Dad took us all down, going to all the. I'd love to see those baseball cards. They're all shuttered now. They're all gone because it's not a hobby much. Or if they are, they've turned into which I'm fine with. That's what's popular. But the thing is, though, to go and see that old card and comic book shop again. And for me, Cardco meant the most because that was when I was a kid and was really into it. Like Tiger's Den. It's funny that's your number 2. Because that's kind of the same way.
Sure.
Cardco would be my number 1.
Yeah.
Number 1, I'd love to go in there. In fact, I don't know what's in Murray Place in that little corner spot in the Murray Place Shopping Center off of oh gosh, it's where the Freds and Vucare and the River Records used to be, and there's an old book rack used to be there, and there used to be Heavenly Ham in that corner, and another little restaurant in that corner.
Yeah.
I don't know what's there now, but
Is that where that used to be?
Cardco used to be located in that corner. Well, I mean, even longer, they were a kiosk in the mall.
Heavenly Ham, like Not Just Pie, that place? Isn't that where Heavenly Ham was?
Heavenly Ham in that corner, yeah. And then there was like a barbecue place
But like
there.
the Greek Methodist Church on Forsyth?
No, it's not on Forsyth. It's the old Athena was over there. The old Athena building, Captain D's, the Johnny's Pizza off McKean.
I got
it's down
you.
that way.
I got you.
Okay,
I got you.
that Fred's Pharmacy used to be there.
Yeah,
Tuesday
like
morning.
Tuesday morning.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Where
that shopping
Small Cakes
center.
is.
But where the corner is, that's
Yeah.
where Cardco was.
Is it? That's where like
Yeah,
that brazen restaurant was.
I still
for a while.
have the sign, the original
I
sign.
know
So,
you
yeah.
have that,
So I mean,
yeah.
that's why, of course, it's number 1 for me. But
Okay,
anyway, so
yeah.
what's number 1 for? That's so funny that is your higher up because that was the same thing for me.
Well, you know I love comic books and I love all the nerddom.
Yeah.
But knowing me, what do I love more than any of that?
Toys R Us is your number 1.
No.
Blockbuster.
Well, you're on the right track. It is movies, right? But
Suncoast Sound.
well, no.
Wow.
It is movies.
It is a movie store.
It is a local
Rental place.
I
love
in
it.
Bastrop named Video Software. Okay. Now, Video Software
love it.
was before you got, let's see. I know you don't know too much about Bastrop. It was just in a little shopping center that was not where I lived, but it wasn't where the square was. It was in between the two. People that grew up in Bastrop would know exactly where it's at. But anyway, so this store, I could still ride my bike to it. It wasn't right by my house, but I could still get up there. And whenever you walked in, I could still close my eyes and see everything right now. Whenever you walked in, it was one of those little video rental places like a Blockbuster that had one door that you could go in, and right to the left was where everybody worked. And then you had to check out and then go through like the scanner thing. And so it had one entrance and one specific exit, right? So when you went in the entrance, if you went straight, then that's where like the new release wall was. And you go straight there, and then that wall curving to the right of the store was all the new releases. There were some smaller shelves in front of it on the floor that had kind of like the not latest new releases, but still newer movies. And then all to the left of the store was the sections, like the sci-fi and the horror and the comedy or whatever. Now, whenever you walked in, on the right side of that, if you just went right around, there was a big kiosk there where they had cassette tapes. So you could buy cassette tapes. Now, this was the 80s and early 90s, so this was all VHS tapes. We're not even talking DVD. And let me tell you, it wasn't a big place, but you'd be surprised at how many VHS tapes you could fit on these shelves because this place had hundreds, if not thousands, of movies. And what they did there was this old school thing of they would take a white clamshell box, not like a Disney clamshell box, but like the hard kind of clamshell box, right?
Yeah, I remember those.
What they would do is they would cut the cover box. So you would get a movie, right? Just think of a VHS movie in the cover. They would cut that. They would cut the spine, they would cut the front, the back, and then the top part.
Okay.
And they would insert the front into the front of this hard clamshell and the back, and then the spine.
Got it, yeah.
So and they would put the VHS tape in it. And then it had a little slit on the right-hand side where they would put the little marker for the barcode for their rental place.
Wow.
And so you could, rip open the thing and see the movie right there and make sure you had the right movie in it and stuff like that. So it was like a bigger thing. And when they put them on the shelves, they put them at like a diagonal. So they all kind of sat at a diagonal.
I love that.
Yeah. And so you grabbed it, and there was no markers. no
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. It was an empty spot there if it wasn't there, but everything was in alphabetical order. I used to spend forever in that store, and that's where we used to rent all of our old karate movies, all our old Godzilla movies, all our old horror movies. I used to go up there so much that even whenever I was 11 years old, I would be hanging around in there at like Friday at like a 6, and I would overhear people's conversations about a movie that they would want. I can't remember if I was snooping or not. I was probably snooping. But what I would hear was they would want to see this movie or they would want to see that movie. I would go and try to find it for them without telling them. Like if I overheard, like, man, like I wish they had a copy of Ghost in, I would go up front and I would like check the Dropbox or I would look behind again and see if I could find it. Just so if I saw one, I could either go hand it to them and be like, oh, here, I overheard this. Or I could go tell them. I did that all the time. And so it does not surprise me that I worked at 3 video stores.
Of course.
Whenever I got older and still kind of have my own video store now in my own digital way. So it's just been in my blood earnestly since I was little. But man, if I could go back in there, the innocence of that time, you could rent video game systems from there. So that's where, like, if I didn't own a Sega Genesis, I always owned Nintendo stuff. But if Rusty was coming over for like the weekend, then on Friday night, if they had a Genesis in, I could rent a Genesis and it would come with the console, 2 controllers, the hookups, and then, it didn't come with any games, but then you'd have to rent the game. So we would get like a Sonic 2 or Golden Axe, and that's all we'd get, but that's all we would need. And we'd sit there and play that. And it was real cheap. I mean, you might spend $20 for a whole weekend to rent a Genesis or something.
I remember those days.
But it was such a wonderful place. I don't know what happened to it. I was younger. I mean, I guess it just, went defunct or whatever like they all did.
Like they all did.
I don't know what happened to the inventory or whatever.
I'm shocked we still have one in our town.
Yes.
It's like going back in time to walk in there.
And as much as I love places like that, I haven't been in there in years.
We haven't either.
For no reason. It's not like I'm against it. I just haven't,
No, but last time we went in there, because Megan got a membership, she was so excited they were still around. Movie Gallery, is that their name?
No, National Video.
No, it's not that. Is it National Video? National Video, okay.
Yeah.
So we still have a video rental place here, but their prices are still sky high. I'm like, dude, for $5.99 or $4.99, I can go rent it on digital and watch it.
Yeah.
You've got to at least be competitive against Amazon,
right?
Or at least have
Redbox is like $1,
or at least have Redbox is gone now.
Oh, are they
so,
really?
Yeah, they went under.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So now, if you can get movies that aren't on streaming, maybe that's your one hook, but you got to get it below the price of it, because then I have to drive out there. And I'm not going to drive out there if it's $1 difference a lot of times.
Yeah. I think that it's not a nostalgia thing. I think that the reason why that one still survives is its location.
No, you're right.
Because
it's right on the cuff of the...
there's such ruralness.
Rural.
If that's even
rural.
a word. But between West Monroe and Ruston,
Yeah.
it's such backwoods
Yeah.
that there's so many people that actually still have DVD players because you can't get internet where they live.
Yeah, you can't get internet or not good internet.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they do have... I mean, obviously they have enough clientele to keep
stay
the lights
open,
on.
so good for them.
But you're absolutely right. Like,
But you're working in a museum at that point.
Right. And if you're working in a
it's cool.
museum,
I'm not dogging it.
you need museum pieces then.
Yeah, I never see hiring, or else maybe I'd get a part-time job working nights at the video store.
All I'm saying is that, like, if you have a museum, people don't want to see new pieces of art. You go to a museum to see Mona Lisa. So if I walk in there, I want to see Iron Eagle on VHS.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I want to see the Goonies.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. And they don't have that,
And they should. They should have the movies that no one else has.
Yeah, right.
Streaming. That'd be the way to do. But anyway, that's really interesting. You look at like old video stores for me, and one comes to mind out in Balkanville. There's this lady, a gas station turned video rental store, because everything
There's a lot of those.
And I went in there, and she had just a small rack, but she was big on horror. And I'd go in there, and I had a free book of one. I've told the story before on the radio. We won one rental a year. And she had a lot of B horror movies, and I'd rent them. And she loved B horror, so we'd always talk about the movie I saw and what we liked about it, and if we didn't like it. And when I used my last free coupon, she looked at me. She went, "Does this mean you're never coming back?" I went, "No, I'll come back." She went, "Okay, I will give you a discount. I will give you everything for $1." She said, to rent. She said, I really like to, I don't have anyone who watches horror. I really want to keep talking. I said, yeah, absolutely. No, I wasn't coming back. It was too far out of the way. And I regret that. I regret that because she was very nice and she was begging me to stay, going to give me a deal. If I rented more, I had to rent more than one, but she'd give them to me for $1 if I did it. And, she was trying to make a deal. They were like $1.99 or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I regret not going back. And I do miss our talks. And so, but it was a drive out there.
Well, sure. That's
But
quick.
because it was down the road out there. But anyway, yeah, good stuff, good picks.
Excellent stuff.
All right, folks, let us know in the comments below what is a store. We didn't say any restaurants, did we? I said Showbiz Pizza.
Yeah, you got Showbiz
but
Pizza.
Yeah, so I added restaurants in there just in case someone said Bennigan's or something.
I miss Bennigan's.
Yeah, me too. But either way, though.
Well, no, didn't I say Pippin's? I said Pippin's.
Well, you said Eat-A-Bite.
I mean,
Yeah, so we had one.
it's local.
So there you go.
But yeah.
So, folks, is it local or regional or national? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on Saturday morning.
Samoflange. What do you think Lucky's doing right now?
I don't know. Hopefully she's still alive.
Well, she was young at the time, right?
She was young at the time, so she would be my age or a few years younger.
The one I would worry about is Harriet or Maud or
she's
Jean.
gone.
Yeah,
She's gone.
Yeah, rest in peace.